Hello everyone. In today's Command Burst DCS, we're going to be taking a look at the JF-17. Now, let me start off by saying immediately that the JF-17 simulated in DCS is kind of a hybrid between the JF-17 Block 1 and the JF-17 Block 2 and 3. The other big difference between the one in DCS and the one over here in Command is the fact we cannot carry the 802 AKG, the anti-ship missile. That's the missile everybody usually associates with this aircraft because it's the one that basically you can steer by hand in midair. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, inside of Command over here, we have to use the conventional AK, which unfortunately also means we're going to have to use that in DCS, although it's a pretty neat weapon, and I think you're going to get a kick out of it. So what can we say about the JF-17? First of all, from a DCS perspective, it has a lot of really neat features that really surprised me. For one, the sensor integration is incredible. I love the fact you can copy paste waypoints. The communication setup is very simple. It has a ton of different weapons for different capabilities. Its radar is not bad. I mean, at the very least, it has the ability to do both surface and air. It's almost like an F-16 light is kind of how I always kind of think of this plane. But that being said, because they went with commercial off-the-shelf technology for a lot of the avionics, it's a very modern plane, and it feels very modern, especially in DCS. So anyway, enough about that. In our scenario today, we're going to be flying right off the coast of Georgia. We just took off from Senaki Air Base, and we're going to be trying to locate an enemy ship that's trying to land troops for us. So now in DCS, our radar has the capability of doing some rough surface search. In Command, on the flip side, the Block 1 and 2 has the older radar, which actually has very limited surface search capability. So I've had to cheat here and actually gone with the more sophisticated version of this aircraft. So we're already going to have a pretty big difference there, but hopefully that doesn't manifest itself too differently in DCS. So anyway, let's go ahead and flip on our radar. And off we go. While we're searching around for that target, let's go ahead and take a look at kind of the features here. Let's see here. We have this pretty decent radar, really modern. It's okay, it's an eye. Good. It is surface search. That's important. Let's see here, some generic iris, which we don't get in DCS. We have to get the pod for that. We do have a MAWS, and it works really well. Let's scroll down here. Okay, so we can carry all sorts of fun. The MARA 1, which is, we don't actually get this in DCS. This is another difference. We do get the PL-12, which is an AMRAAM. It's pretty nice. We do have a couple of these weapons. These are really fun to play with. Let's see what we got here. Scrolling down, let's see properties, good radios. Let's see, we have ballistic computing bomb sight. Bummer. We do have a held-mounted sight, and we can refuel, at least in this version. We can't do in the one. And the other point I want to point out, as we're kind of poking through this, I should not be paused right now. The other thing I want to point out about this aircraft is the engine is basically derived from that of a MiG-29, so it is not the most fuel efficient. So one thing we are doing a little differently is we're traveling at relatively low altitude. When you travel at low altitude with a surface search radar, it's easier to see the side of a ship. However, you're going to be limiting your radar horizon. Because this aircraft has such a limited radar range, it's not really going to impact us that greatly in this particular situation. So anyway, we're just crossing over Poti now, and we're starting to search around for our target. One thing I like about this new version of Command, 15 times speed. I like that. All right. Oh, pause. Interesting. We are able to acquire the target right at the edge of our distance. So this particular target, skunk number 1, is making 14 knots. Intelligence tells us that this is the guy. Let's go ahead and queue up some weapons. Allocate all. Go ahead and wait a moment. Missiles away. And now we fly back home, and those, if I recall correctly, are going to be radar guided. So once they get within range, they should do the job the rest of the way. Keep in mind, if we're using the AKG model of this, we could actually steer this by hand. But unfortunately, we don't have that version, which is kind of a bummer if you ask me. Keep in mind, I have no radar range on these guys now. Oh, that's another neat feature, by the way. We now have the ability to do basically no God's eye view. We have perfect fog of war, which is actually kind of neat. I'm going to slow it on time. By the way, if I turn on show everything mode, check this out. It will actually still show you everything. Apparently there's an E3 out there somewhere. There he is. Okay, so that way we can watch the action. All right, skidding across the water at high speed here. At any moment we should be seeing the target. Keep them up. They've turned on their radars like they're designed to do. And I'm pretty confident we're going to get a pretty clean hit. There's the alligator right there. And that's game for the alligator. And it's a perfect sync. Let's find out what happens to DCS. All right, here we are over in the JF-17. Now, like I was saying earlier, this aircraft is a very modern aircraft with those huge, large format displays, pretty modern electronics. The weaponry is very, very capable. It's got a couple kind of fun little quirks on it, but we'll kind of point those out as we do the rest of our mission here. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and get myself nice and leveled out here. I'm going to go ahead and flip on my automatic pilot at altitude mode. One of the features I love is the fact you can just tell it what altitude you want to be traveling at. Next thing I always like to do is I like to make sure my data link settings are all done correctly. Again, this is all amazing technology that you can just boop, boop, and now I have data link technology just like that. We can now return back to the main page. Of course, there's nothing to data link to me, so none of that's really that helpful. All right, that looks like a pretty good speed. This thing's got pretty good pickup. It's just a little underpowered, but again, it's not underpowered like an F5 or something like that. So next thing what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and start getting ready to go ahead and engage my target. This is a little old school, so I'm going to go ahead and flip the master mode onto air to ground. Notice it's instantly changed my radar mode. I'm going to change it from map mode to C2. I'm going to go ahead and crank that up a little bit. You can actually see the ground returns at POT right there. And we are good to go. So what's the difference between C1 and C2? C2 basically Doppler Doppler filters, not Doppler shifts, the basic speed of other targets. Again, I'm kind of concentrating too many things at one time here. So basically what it's going to do is it's only going to tell you if there's a moving ship out there. It's not going to tell you if there's just a ship chilling. Now you'll notice this RBM button. If you click that, you can actually disable the raw image of what you're seeing. So for example, if I flip this back to, well, let's do map real quick. You can see I'm picking up a lot more junk from the ocean itself. If I flip this on, if I was in filtering mode, you basically could shut all that junk off. But again, I don't need that. I'm going to leave it on C2 for now. Make sure my range is cranked up all the way. RPM, I can leave that on just in case I see a smear of something. For those of you who use Persian Gulf map all the time, you probably experienced a lot of smear on there from all those huge civilian tankers. Okay, next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my missile itself set up. I'm going to go ahead and launch 2. You'll notice I had to click this power on button. If you skip that step, the weapon won't be ready to fire by the time I actually get something. You'll see it's got 2 minutes and 13 seconds. We're going to be attacking a medium-sized target. We have a couple of delay fuses versus direct fuses. Delay fuses are awesome against unarmored targets. Direct fuses are better against armored targets. Let's see here. We're going to do direct mode. We have coordinate mode, and we have line of sight mode. Line of sight mode is just fire. Direct mode is whatever I'm pointing at right now. And of course, coordinate mode is whatever coordinate 36 is locked into. Something that'll be a little more important later on. So I'm already getting a warning that there's some sort of ship off in the distance based on the type of radar return I'm getting right now. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is quickly flip this sucker over to my little targeting system. That was already pre-selected. That looks pretty good. That looks about coordinate 1, which doesn't surprise me. So what I can actually do, check this out. I can go like this, find coordinate 1, make a copy of it, go all the way down to the missile's primary coordinate and paste it in. One thing I do want to change though is I don't like that altitude. I want an altitude of like 5 feet. You might want to fix this because this could really, really mess you up. All set. So now it's a 10 foot. That's awesome how you can just click that in just there like that. You can actually slave everything else in your aircraft to that function as well. I'm actually going to flip it back to the main mode, grab C2 mode, and I'm going to make sure my range is set. You can even adjust the gain on this thing. Some of that's a little on the old-fashioned side, but at the same token, I think it's absolutely great. So we've got about 47 seconds or so to go before we're good, and we're ready to go ahead and engage. We could leave it in coordinate mode. We could also flick it to direct mode, which is kind of my intention here. While that's going, I'm going to go ahead and get my pod all warmed up here. Turn on the pod, and I'm also going to go ahead and uncage it as well. Nice. So now I have the ability to actually look around, just like that. So I can actually see the target that I'm engaging. You know, I can flip it onto IR mode and all those other good things, but you'll see that in just a second. All right, I'm already acquiring something on top of my radar I just noticed a second ago. Let's go flip it to C2. There we go, we got something. And we lost it. Got it. So now I can go like this, and it will automatically actually look at the thing that I just locked on. How cool is that? That's like, oh man, that's handy. You have no idea how handy that is. We're in range. Let's make sure everything is all set. Master arm is already preset. We are good to go. In the real world, of course, you'd want to identify your target before just driving a gigantic missile into the side of it, which would be the appropriate thing to do. Actually, let me flip this to 36. Now I'll go ahead and flip that to slave mode, go to narrow mode. Let's see, is there anything we can actually see from this distance? It doesn't really look like it. Yeah, we just can't see it from that distance, but that's okay. Missiles locked on. I'm on direct mode. We're ready to fire as soon as we're ready to fire. So without further ado, I love this part. 1 away, 2 away. That's it, mission accomplished. Go ahead and shut off the automatic pilot. Actually, go ahead and shut the automatic pilot off, and let's go ahead and head home. Now, the reason this thing is honking at me like crazy, by the way, I love this feature. You could just turn the plane a little bit and then put the automatic pilot back on, is because we are now in a different profile. I'll flip to air mode, and that's it. Off go those missiles, and hopefully in just a few moments they'll kind of do the deed. I didn't really need my pod here. I was kind of hoping I could see, but it wasn't like, 65 miles away, so that probably explains why we didn't see much. Go ahead and flip this sucker off, and we are good to go. Go back up to HSD mode. There it is. And that's it. So yeah, pretty cool. Check this out. We even got a little map that we can change the zoom on. It's just like so modern. So modern. Let's go ahead and set my waypoint to waypoint 3. And just like that, I am back in business as far as where I need to go. I can flip back to navigation mode just by clicking a single switch, and that's it. Like I said, that's pretty impressive. Meanwhile, these guys are about to make somebody's day. I did leave labels on, so it would be a little easier to see the action. Speed things up just a little bit. Now keep in mind, if these are the AKGs, I would actually be able to steer those by hand. And automatic pilot off. Straighten myself out. Alright, looks pretty good. If you're not banked too much, the AP will actually flip right back on. Alright, let's go see how the action's going. I'm going to reduce power a little bit, because now we're a little bit lighter. Check our map. Oh yeah, those got a ways to go, but they'll be fine. I think basically they're going to get there after I already get back to base. Speed up time. Dun, 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 dun. See how I'm doing? Yeah, I'm going to be on the ground before those missiles even get there. I'm just going to let my airplane keep flying. All right, now one of the things I should have done is told them to do a pop-up attack when we did get into range here, but we'll be okay. There's the target. Remember, these things have been traveling through the air for several minutes. There's the pop-up attack. Oh, it's going to go right through the deck and then explode. Oh, that is so mean. Yes, I did swap out the LST for the alligator. Yeah. Oh! So I would say in this case, Command and DCS got it right. All right, folks, hopefully you found that video kind of entertaining. We'll go ahead and exit real quick. And we can see my little results real fast. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was nice. That was nice. All right. Hopefully you guys found that kind of an interesting video. Again, you can see that they did a great job simulating on both ends, but there are differences between Command and DCS. Enjoy.